This episode of EdTech, we'll be talking with Tom Stipes from Georgia Tech. We'll be going over digital signage and the high risk and high reward of high-end deployment. We'll also be talking about winter installs. All this on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 57, High Risk, High Reward.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by AVITSA, the Audiovisual and Integrated Experience Association.
This is EdTech, the monthly higher ed tech podcast. I'm your host, Bill O'Donnell. This month, I am joined by the illustrious Ernie Bailey.
Good morning.
Rob Raspberry. Oh.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes, hello. And we're also joined by Tom Stipes. Tom is with us from Georgia Tech, I believe, correct?
That is right.
All right. So first off, we are going to mention that Tom is actually going to be moderating a panel over at the Digital Signage Expo, which will be in Las Vegas of next year and everything. It's actually shaping up to be an interesting event. And Tom, your panel is going to be high risk equals high reward, I believe.
Yeah, the general idea is to open up and discuss large-scale projects and how risk can equal reward in the whole ecosystem of technology and funding and recovery revenue and content share, development of innovation tactics and techniques on campus. Yeah.
Good times. Just to give everyone an idea, because we all have varying scopes and sizes. William Patterson, we like to tell everyone we hover around 12,000. As I say, just to give everyone an idea, how big is either the student body or at least the size in which you're going to have to be you guys deal with in terms of signage? Like how big of a campus and how many students does this affect?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting opportunity in in that we're located in Midtown Atlanta, so just north of downtown Atlanta, in a very vibrant part of the South. The technological leadership that's shown in Tech Square and in Midtown Atlanta is palpable. Georgia Tech's a high part of that. Mm-hmm. And so physically it's about 550 acres plus or minus of land in an urban environment. And then from a scope perspective on humans, 28 to 30,000 student population, 5,000 faculty and staff beyond that. But most importantly, the visitor component of that, given that we're located where we are, can be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands that make their way through our eastern part of our campus. So the focus for digital signage and communication content and intent is to reach all of those constituents, and that's why I use the word opportunity.
Well, yeah, I mean, just the way you describe it and everything, being in a downtown major metropolitan area, you're going to hit not only your students, you're going to be hitting, like you said, your visitors, you're going to be hitting your faculty, which, I won't lie, Rob is actually a little bit more better based in this than I am, because Rob is down at Drexel, outside in wonderful Philadelphia, whereas I'm out in Wayne, New Jersey, which is close to Patterson, good old Silk City. But other than that, the closest major metropolitan area we have is like New York City and everything. And it's one of those things where you actually have a unique opportunity, because like I said, you're going to have a mix of both students and as well as other outside visitors and everything. So for you guys, digital signage is very key, because you could do a homegrown thing and you could do stuff where it's like, oh, well, it makes sense to the students. Well, yeah, but your visitors and everything have to be able to look at that and go, oh yeah, I get that. Oh, and it's kind of one of those things where you have to make things. I'm not going to say super simple, but at the same time, you have to make sure that it pops. So that being said, Tim, do you want to talk about your guys' state of signage and everything on campus
at Georgia Tech?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, if I talked about it at Georgia Tech, that'd be amazing, because I've never been there.
After we talk, you'll be able to do what I relate what I said. The notion of digital signage at Georgia Tech is about 7 or 8 years old. There's an existing network run by IT of about 225 screens scattered throughout campus. And when we estimate that's in, say, 45 of our colleges, buildings, or departments, a networked screen community, we've got 200 colleges, buildings, departments. So we've really only scratched the surface in terms of potential. And those largely represent lobby level monitors and et cetera. Now there's tons of digital signage in terms of classroom scheduling and other signage that's controlled by an individual college or department. But in terms of a centralized connected screen network, that's where we are now. Where we're headed is, I would say, 2 phases. We've just created the Department of Digital Signage Technology. So that existing digital screen network is now going to morph from IT into a new department under campus services. And it will operate as a service, not unlike housing, HR, physical education, food service, dorm life, et cetera. And so the opportunity really is to create a whole new culture of service level offering out to our colleges, buildings, or departments that form the network of screen connectivity. That's for subject matter expertise on all things digital signage. That's management of the content management software, which we're now engaging in a bid for a new one. And as we ready for growth and expansion, the core goal of our digital network is to create an engaged, protected, informed, and connected community. And every one of those words forming the acronym of EPIC are important. So on any college campus right now, the notion of creating community and bringing it all together is critical.
So here's my question for you on this one. And this is just, it's always kind of interesting to see how folks go about this and everything. You're making an entire department of signage and everything. So does that mean they're going to control the screens, or do each of the departments still maintain their own screens? Reason being is this, and you probably know it, and Ernie and Rob are probably well aware of this, is that at times trying to get campuses or colleges and departments to agree to a unified screen or a unified look, it's like trying to go up to Scotland and unite the clans. I mean, it's one of those things where they go, well, I wanted to do this, or I wanted to do that, or I have to control this. And I'm just kind of curious as to what you guys did in order at least to kind of streamline this, because by the sounds of it, you're coming up with a whole department, which is great. I'm just kind of curious as to how you guys are coming about with that, with at least unifying.
No, it's a good question. It's the elephant in the room on any college campus. We're fortunate here that senior leadership, and I mean up to the president and executive leadership team and out to the deans, are pretty unified in terms of forward thinking and innovation and better communication. And when you roll in those attributes of security, protection, engagement, the ability to instantly connect and protect and secure your constituents, students, staff, faculty, in our case, visitors, through above ground and interior and exterior digital signage, combined with an application on your phone, is powerful. I mean, that's a great conversation. And anyone that's focused on future and leadership and protecting all of those people that are on and around your campus in times of need for weather, or unfortunately in the societal norm that is happening with regards to doing bad things. So the idea is to better engage and better protect. And so I think that the idea is that if we put together a centralized content management program and share that screen with the intentions of having global content on part of it and local content on the other part of it, brighten it up, make it all 2.0, give it a modern digital, almost an equitable look with what happens in the rest of society in the areas of healthcare, transportation, retail, sometimes in government. If you make it all look better and you bring more eyes through global content to their local content, and we're have the ability to override with security messaging and protect everyone at the same time, then that's a pretty hard argument for them to make in terms of change. And so again, at Tech, the plan is to control the chaos and to control the messaging, and to put everyone in a position to be better informed. And so to get in the way of that, simply to protect 100% of your own screen, is going to create you pretty much an outlier position. So what we're trying to do is to create, Bill, a situation where we provide subject matter expertise to the rest of campus
Mm-hmm.
employ a digital content strategist to help us mastermind this overall strategy for all the screens.
Mm-hmm.
Remain vigilant that everyone has a voice in terms of all the student groups, all the departments, the departments, the colleges, the buildings.
Yep.
And then most importantly, that the authorities that need to override messaging for police or emergency movement will always have that ability to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing that it really it kind of does hammer down into these things because like I said, on smaller campuses, they do tend to get territorial. But the way you're providing it, it's no. Listen, you have your screens, or sorry, you'll still have a certain amount of real estate for your stuff. You also have to give up a certain amount for, as you put it, global or large scale messaging and notices and things like that. And then at least at the bottom, and I'm just kind of noticing from the screen behind you, I'm guessing is a good example of this and everything, is you at least have at the bottom your news tickers or your RSS feeds. And as funny as it sounds, for us, at least on campus, putting in RSS feeds, at least for the local, we're not even talking news, CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whoever you like. It's just putting in say the campus announcements or at least the campus, the college RSS feed. We've started putting that in our collaborative rooms, and students actually enjoy that because they go, oh, I didn't see that, and they can actually start looking through their phone, which at this point is, we've designed our website to be very mobile friendly because if anything, most of our students live off their mobile devices. So we're trying to make things a little bit more just here, it's easy, it's right there off your phone, kind of have at it kind of thing.
Yeah, well, everything you said is right and accurate, and what you're seeing over my shoulder is not an example of what we're doing in the area of digital signage. That's a Georgia Tech cable network feed, and that's sort of loosely 1.0 defined. What we want to do is sharpen it up. Now, taking that and adding 3D widgets and integrated tools that will help us do better in the areas of scheduling, emergency movement, certainly bringing in weather, social media, traffic.
Now, actually, I'm kind of curious. What do you guys use? I'm sorry. What kind of do you get? What kind of players do you guys use, or is it, or do you decide to go the route of homebrew and got a couple of folks to do Raspberry Pi programming, or do you actually go with a straight a single a specific manufacturer?
Well, it's all in sort of a state of flux. So we've inherited, again, where this transition's happening now, is a year of transition from what IT built to what we're going to do. So our plan for the future is not yet completely hatched. We know what we think we want to do, but we're probably not prepared to announce it, in this environment. But what I would tell you, and your answer is, it's a Windows-based player, and they're a NUC, the configuration that exists all over campus. We'd look to probably standardize that and move towards hopefully a cloud-based HTML5 driven program for the future. So we really want to look at it. We're evaluating now and going to purchase a new content management software. We're in the throes of that process now. So I don't know where that will end up, but the goal is to have a hardware agnostic opportunity. So our path forward is to us and open to us. And that'll put us in the position to really control the player and to control the data and the health of the device and to be able to see out and remotely control everything. But the key to all that, Bill, is gonna be the content, is what you guys know. The rest of it's just a bunch of widgets. And we've got currently, they would be 50 and 55-inch monitors scattered throughout hundreds of acres of campus. But we want to begin to improve on that and move to phase 2, which would be indoor and exterior interactive kiosks, form surveillance cameras, Bluetooth phones, RFID and beacon technology, of course. Have those in and around the campus and dot that in with at least 5 to 7 other screen types. So include street furniture at bus dwellings, bike charging stations, sit and rest and soak in the campus opportunities that also form digital signage opportunities. We want to mount and mobilize our screens on our 22 buses and trolleys that move around Midtown Atlanta. We want to build above ground football stadium-like LED signage on modern buildings, and then possibly create a monument signage addendum. So the acceptable standard of signage on a campus is a granite monument sign.
Mm-hmm.
We want to not dampen that aesthetic, but also modernize it. It is the Georgia Institute of Technology.
Mm-hmm.
One of our strategic principles is to now, as we've spent the last 20 years reforesting this campus, and it literally is known as an arboretum. This beautiful, beautiful paradise in the center of Atlanta. We now want to show visible, tangible examples of technology for our student, staff, faculty, and visitors who are expecting it. And signage will help us do that. And the content remains the most important part.
Oh,
On
of course.
any campus, there are innumerable forms of digital content that are being produced now by your own independent communications teams, and certainly into athletics and through all the colleges and buildings or departments are doing it.
Well,
So
that's the thing I was going to tell you is that recently, about a month or two back, they had the Digital Signage Expo in New York City, and it was kind of funny. We had a couple of folks. This was over at AV Week for AVNation, and one of the things that really ended up talking, or at least the major topic that came up, was that both the hardware manufacturers and the software developers both said, "Listen. Our stuff is coming to the level of, these are almost like little mini Porsches. You can do whatever you want on these things. They're very robust. They're really nice. They're like, however, it is coming that content is key. So one of the big things that was a big talk, and it became a big partnership, was getting the hardware manufacturers to actually develop partnerships with content creators or content management folks and everything. In that, I won't lie, in that, smaller campuses, a lot of times I've seen it where your digital signage, at least if it's managed by the department or managed by the faculty, managed by, the college, a lot of times it's usually suddenly a responsibility, not so much of the IT, so much as it's a responsibility of, say, the department admin. And
Sure.
God bless their hearts. They have many things to do, but they're not always the most savvy in going, okay, how do I set up a timeline? Okay, it's supposed to be no more than 3 seconds, or, for them, it's okay, it's a PowerPoint slide or it's a video. Okay, where do I send this to? Okay, and boom. And I won't lie.
Carol. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And so not everyone has the same backgrounds or skill set or patience to be able to populate it and maintain that same standard.
Mm-hmm.
That is a challenge. So one of our, to get ahead of that and knowing that is a problem and having seen that for the years here, that's what has driven us to take forward this centralized content path where we will have a team of digital content creators is the plan. Mm-hmm. To help not create and own that obligation for all colleges, buildings, departments, but to supplement and help them and offer them templates that will form their local content to maintain that sleek, really cool edge that we want to have on all of it. The goal being that if we can create a pattern of viewing today, which leads you tomorrow, and then it becomes a habit for you moving forward, then we're on the right track. But if they're not looking at it today and they didn't yesterday, they're not going to go do it tomorrow, and no matter what happens. And so that's driving us to make sure that we have moving motion files and things that draw their attention, to limit it to 6 or 8 seconds, knowing they're walking and moving. But the goal of all of it is to create action, and action could be commerce, action could be response to an advertisement that might be up there. Now let's talk about advertisement. That's the big fear on any college campus, particularly from the academic community. We don't want to bring advertising in the real world to campus. But if you really want to have that conversation, and we do, and we have, the notion is that it's already on your phone. Many of you have 2 phones, so open up your jackets, and there's advertising all over them. Surf the web for a second on your laptop. You're watching whatever they want you to see. Yep. You go into the dorm lobby, into the dorm room, CNN is streaming, then you're watching what they want you to see. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to reverse that trend and actually take control of all that and create smarter corporate partner marketing messaging. So not selling advertising to the ambulance chasing community, but literally giving those brands that want to have a presence on campus a chance to do it through a really smart digital message.
Well, sure. For example, many moons ago, when I was a lowly tech with an integration company, there was Manhattan College, and specifically, they actually wanted digital signage put up, and they had a rather robust system. But the reason being was because they had actually done a partnership with Chase Manhattan Bank. And a lot of their digital signage stuff was actually getting played through. And then every now and then you would actually see a motion commercial from Chase. And the reason being was that Chase was trying to get younger students to have things like checking accounts and savings accounts and things like that. And they said, if we just put it in and slip it in between X number of images and notes and things like that, folks would just suddenly see that. And they even had like little enticements for the students of hey, and it wasn't a toaster that they would give you if you opened up an account. I think it was I want to say it was either a toaster oven. Or I believe it was they gave you like cookies of the month or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was just something like a little bit like that, and it was just their way of kind of easing the students in. So anyway.
Yes, and so the idea, that's the concept of allowing or working with brands that want to reach your students is it's been around for a long time. So now we expand that to talk about staff, faculty, the visitors to the campus, and to make those messages digital and smart. And
it should be noted that Tom juggles is juggling many chainsaws. In between this, he took a good amount of his very scheduled time to do this. So if anything, we do say thank you. I'm sure also at the same time, you probably have some folks, some barbarians at the door going, there's this meeting, you have to come back.
Well, we're the point I was about to make is with regards to, at least speaking for tech, we have kind of an embarrassment of riches of desire of the students for recruiting purposes. And it's, it's fairly broad, it's fairly global in terms of the need. And a good bit of our student population is from overseas, of course, and many of them going back there.
Oh, yeah.
But there's this global need for information. And so we've got an opportunity to take a really innovative stance and to modernize one particular part of our campus, especially called Tech Square, that sits in Midtown, as I talked about. And we're seeing this massive migration of companies looking to establish presence here, ranging from, on the low end, just innovation centers with 12 or 15 technologists to take advantage of the Georgia Tech ecosystem of research and student and just energy, up to corporate relocations. I mean, NCR's relocated its world headquarters 1 block from where I'm sitting. And so everything in between there. And so capturing all this energy and the goodness that happens with bringing brands together with the student community is the white hot opportunity that we've got. Digital signage is one part of that. And that's where the big exterior, really cool Times Square looking stuff's going to happen. How to fund it and how to move forward and scale and scope that is part of the challenge. And of course, not every college can undertake all that. So what we're going to have to do is to formalize a revenue seeking plan that allows us to totally market the campus in a controlled way that's aesthetically pleasing, that's governed by certain standards and principles, but allows that whole pipeline of reach to open up. And now you're talking about possibility of classroom collaboration, student research collaboration, private public research, delivering their message, of course, and the avant-garde for any Division I college's athletics. Right, that's football game Saturdays and all the cool fan experience stuff of large scale LED and fine pitch LED and 4K and all that. And we have that, but we only have it on 7 Saturdays a year. So in 14 basketball games. So for us, the rest of the calendar year on a 500-acre part of the most vibrant parts of the United States from a business perspective is the opportunity. And it's really, when you think about it, it's an obligation. We need to do it to keep up.
Well, fair enough. So speaking of obligations, as if anything, we are coming close to the end of the semester, and obligations wise, our students are of course using the 24-hour convenience of the libraries and study spaces. I believe at least with us, we're also starting to gear up for final projects. And speaking of final projects, we're going to transition kind of away from Tom on this one to kind of focus on the projects that, kind of get left behind. And by that, I mean, everyone goes, oh, this is great. Oh, we want to do this. Oh, wait a minute. All the classrooms are in session. And right now we're going to be coming up on winter break. So if anything, I do want to give some attention to my two cohorts in crime here. So if anything, I want to start off with Mr. Ernie Bailey. So, sir, what are some of the fun winter projects you're going to be working on there, sir?
We really have three going on. One's already started. We're renovating our medical and pharmacy college wet labs.
Oh, fun.
Just replacing all the technology. Those spaces have never really been funded for technology. They've gotten leftovers and used equipment.
Oh.
And we worked them into the budget this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we've put in digital projectors, and we got those put in during their fall break. We were able to do that rather quickly.
Now, here's my question for you. Being that it's a wet lab, which also to me automatically means, oh, there's definitely some. It's essentially a chem lab on steroids and everything. Did you have to? Did you have to have? Did the fire? Does it say? Did the fire inspector or fire marshal make things more difficult than they should have been, or did you guys smooth it out?
Not in this space, because we've had some sort of technology in there, so we've already been through all that.
Ah, all right.
So we're just bringing it up. We're replacing the 640 by 480 projectors with HD lasers with a 4K infrastructure.
Oh, geez, for them that'll be night and day.
And wired mics are being replaced with wireless and things like that. Then we have one that we were. It's not really designed as between the semesters. It was supposed to have been done in November and December. Completely renovating a whole new area and adding a teaching space for this department. They start classes in January, mid-January.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm now being told that next Tuesday's earliest I can get in there. The Tuesday before Christmas, and they want it operational by January 10th. And we've done cable pulling. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to meet with them this afternoon and tell them, we're going to have something working for you. It's not going to be your finished product, and it's going to be very basic.
Yeah.
And we will work around classes and between classes to get it finished, early February.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And then we're adding some huddle stations.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some, little homegrown ones sitting around that students have really liked, or we've had places they could set up their laptop and look at a large screen, but we're creating true huddle stations around campus and putting in the first two, prefab units.
Yeah. See
how those go over.
So now here's my question for you guys, and this is just kind of one of those interesting things. As much as and don't get me wrong, our bread and butter, when it comes to higher ed technology, it is always going to be the classrooms. But when it comes to like some of the huddle spaces, it is interesting to note that that's also ends up being a lot where the students will kind of, how should I put it? If you have a big meal, and in this case, it's a big lecture class and everything like that, the informal or like little huddle spaces seem to be the area where the students tend to do a lot of they kind of break it down and digest it and kind of, let it all actually sink in. And more than anything, those huddle spaces are becoming they're not as important as the classrooms, but they're certainly, you have to provide that.
Ours, what I'm seeing, even in places where I don't have technology, where I have room for them to, literally huddle around together.
Yeah.
They're grabbing an instructor, pulling them over with 6 or 8 students and having an informal discussion or informal class. Mm-hmm. So this will make it a little bit cleaner and easier to do that.
Yeah.
And they're getting their, small group discussion, even one that's not scheduled through the dean's office, They, like I said, they'll grab a professor walking down the hall, and a lot of times they will stop and talk with them, and, fill them in. Like I said, we're strictly an academic health science campus.
Mm-hmm.
So the instructors are, really excited to share their level of expertise. A lot of times they spend 3 hours a semester with the students, because they have such finely tuned areas of expertise they work with.
Yeah.
So we're starting to give them some real stations. We're going to see how these work. We've got several working in the budget for next summer.
Oh, fair enough. So I was gonna say, so well, thank you very much on that one, Ernie. Mr. Raspberry, what
Sure.
crazy conundrum things have been going down in the city of brotherly love? And by that I mean Drexel.
Yeah. Oh, besides snow, a little bit of snow,
Yeah,
but not too much.
yeah.
So we're actually sort of in an interesting transition in the next couple breaks where we've been sort of commissioned to do our first internal installation in a major conference space on campus. So that's
Oh,
very exciting. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's a really good thing. So we're in the process of ordering a lot of external equipment and all the normal conundrums and stuff that goes along with that. So that's exciting. They just finished renovating the front of our building, and so we're dealing with some trying to figure out what type of digital signage we're going to put permanently up there. So that's something else that's going on.
Mhm.
And basically also planning for an auditorium renovation, but that's actually probably going to happen in the next, I guess, technically the spring
Mhm.
break.
Yeah,
And that's,
because
that's basically what we're working on.
oh, that's fun. Yeah, because and the auditoriums, oh, those are always the best because it's one of
Yeah.
those just ones of, oh, did you get the one that goes 330 feet or 300 feet? Does it matter in an auditorium? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
absolutely.
That's one of those deadly pitfall things. For us, I won't lie. I may have found out that we finished construction on a new building, and we were very good about the budget. We were actually about $900,000 below budget, so they were trying to close things out. Well, unfortunately, telling someone like me that is the worst idea ever. Because I just see a pile of money and I think of Heath Ledger's Joker from Batman. I'm going, oh, all right, I'm just going to burn this pile of cash down. But in reality, what we did was, and taking kind of Ernie's note with this one, we actually went around and we noticed where a lot of the students tend to congregate. They pretty much huddle around where there are outlets. So in our case, what we did was we purchased about 20 huddle blocks and everything. And if you ever seen these things, are from FSR. They look like essentially a giant wooden ottoman and everything, but the idea of it is that there's two regular Edison, outlets. There's two fast USB charging ports, and then there's a wireless charging pad built into the surface and everything. And am I thinking that this is going to change the world? No, but the more you watch the students, I swear I'm going to get hung up on this one, but the biggest irony with our students is the most times when they unplug is literally when they plug in all their devices and they don't think about it because they're like, oh yeah, that's charging. Okay, I can actually open up my workbook or open up my books and everything. Let me take a look at this. Everything's already taken care of. The other thing that we actually started doing was, excuse me, in addition to that, we retrofitted a lot of our group study rooms to where we're going to be putting in wireless collaboration units. Now, in this case, it was a mix of both WePresent as well as Mersive. And I have to admit, our faculty are the only ones that have kind of said, hey, can we get like a QR code or maybe a little something? Where the rest of our students were like, oh, it's got an IP address? Okay. All right, we're good. All right, we're using it because it's an app friendly unit, and I won't lie, our students may not be the best at learning Excel or may not be the best at understanding what a portal is, but man, if you give them an app, they take to it like fish to water. So we have that, and on top of that, we're also going to be actually upgrading one of our training rooms to where it'll be an active learning classroom. And if you've ever done one of those, they're very cool. If you're an installer, you tend to look at them and go and say, wait, you have how many? This is how big of a switcher that's going in? And in our case, I believe it's 16 by 16. So, we're going to be working it through. We'll get it done. But these are the kind of fun projects that, God help us. If we tried to do it during the regular school year, it would just be chaos. So anyways, that being said, gentlemen, I do want to say thank you once again for coming. I was going to say, or at least let's kind of wrap things up here. Tom, if folks want to find you, where can they find you at?
You want an email address?
No, if they can find you, are you on LinkedIn or anything like that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I am.
Yeah. All right. So that's easy enough.
And I'll see you in Vegas at DSE, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'll probably be running around like Templeton the Rat at the county fair, but yeah.
Yeah, I hope everyone watching has the opportunity to at least consider coming to Digital Signage Expo in Las Vegas, where the higher education track is just one part of the conversation and the opportunity, but
yeah.
It's a great gathering, so we encourage everyone to consider.
Of course. Mr. Ernie Bailey, where can they find you at, good sir?
You can usually find me on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm. And of course, last but certainly not least, Mr. Rosberry, where can they find you at?
Everywhere.
Right,
so Rob Raspberry, LinkedIn, everywhere. Drexel.edu.
All right.
Google my name. Oh my God.
Sure. No problem. Bam. There he is. I'm Bill O'Donnell. You can certainly find me on Twitter as well as LinkedIn. I'm usually pretty responsive to those things. Yeah, so that's a month. Thank you very much, gentlemen.